Hey guys, we forgot to introduce this one for a little bit into the video, but just a massive spoiler warning up to the end of episode 6 for this one. Hope you enjoy. Hello.
Welcome.
My goodness.
It's been so long.
It has been a while since we've done one of these.
Oh my goodness.
Episode 3 was 2 videos longer than normal.
Was it?
Well,
they had really long episodes because the tea pies were fucking monsters. Well, maybe the first one.
No, it was the final chapter. The tea parties were real short.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. This is the problem. Is in my head, I'm like, that is the tea party because it's the fucking final showdown in the.
I mean, it even ends in like a magic scene.
Yeah, I know. Like the first tea party of EP3 is not even a tea party.
It lasts for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, totally. It's great.
Lambda just talks shit on Beatrice for not trying to win.
Yeah.
Like.
And then we get the tea pie for those who are not human. I hope I'm not mixing these two up. And the tea pie for those who are not human is just
Angie and the hospital scene.
Angie and Bern and Ava just chatting it. Yeah.
Which was wild. I was like,
yeah, it's great.
It was, I think, welcome to the post-edit recap, by the way. We kind of forgot to introduce that.
Look, I'm just remembering the craziness that is EP3.
Yeah, but like, I think, because I just finished editing that video last night. And all of them.
Shush you.
But...
Crazy man.
But like, it was so funny watching myself and like, in my head I was remembering how like in shock I was, but it just doesn't carry across because I was just like
you were just silent,
so lost. I was just rolling with the punches so hard, and to an extent it was like because I'd been talking shit about Angie appearing in the story and where we were going into episode 4. Yeah. So like part of me was like, okay, I can keep up with this because this is kind of what I was calling, but at the same time I was like, what? This is not one of the ones I expected to become true.
Definitely.
I suppose we should declare we are up to the beginning of episode 7. Mm-hmm. The next thing on our agenda is the Rikenjima episode 6 Tea Party podcast.
Looking forward to it.
I'm excited.
It's gonna be good shit.
But
Brand, that's tomorrow. I need to put up my notes. Anyway,
episode 6 has basically entertainingly confirmed what I said in our recap at the end of
which thing was
3.
that? I don't remember.
The end of episode 3 was the first one where I suggested that Shannon and Cannon might be one person.
Are we getting into spoiler territory? Are we...
Oh, don't worry. There's a spoiler warning right at the start of this video.
Good. I was gonna say, because, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, are we gonna talk about that now? Is this the time to talk about...
I don't want to talk about the implications of that here because, you know, that's what later in the playthrough is for.
Yeah. I figured.
But, like... It was very interesting to me that to rewatch and see like how furious I was with that theory at the time.
I know.
Like,
it kind of hurt, I'll be real with you. If you like go into the Discords I've been having with people, I'm like, oh my god, he's so anti everything that's happening in this story. Like, I remember back in episode 1, I'm sure I've said this earlier on camera, but back in episode 1 where I was like, maybe we're being shown something that, you know, isn't real. And you were like, nah, that's insane. That's insane. Why would she ever show us something that isn't real? And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, because my understanding was, based on how you described it to me before we started, was that it was going to be episode 1 was the mystery, and then 2 through 7 were the ones where we went to other mysteries to figure it out. Then 8 was where we came back around.
Can I tell you what I was expecting?
Yeah.
Because I was actually introduced to this more through the fantasy stuff than the reality stuff, so I thought, okay, EP 1 to 4 is going to be full mystery, and then episodes 5 to 8 is going to be full fantasy. So when a witch showed up at the end of episode 1, I was like, why is she here so early? What is happening? Like, it was great. It's great shit, but I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah, because I was like, well, you know, they have to actually be people, so maybe someone's playing them and they've died already because they have to be real people. Yep. And, like, I was so furious with my own theory because I kept going through it and I was like, as I said in the first recap we did for this, I was like, I spent the night, straight after we finished episode 3, I scrubbed through every fucking video we had. Not
looking for it,
Not like watching all of them, because basically there was that whole thing in the middle of the Web of Red where Battler's like, well, what if it's multiple personalities? And then I was like, oh yeah, Shannon appeared as a ghost. How do I get that to work? And I went back and I was like...
And Cannon appears as a ghost and won't touch her, and it all lines up. I mean, this is just...
Like, I was so frustrated because I was like, it's the only way that I can think that this can work that has been foreshadowed, but I hate it so much.
I'll let you know, the theory that most people go with is that somebody from a previous Twilight faked their death, killed Nanjo, died immediately afterwards, and then that's why they can because they say that Nanjo is dead and everyone else is dead at the same time. That doesn't mean that everybody else was dead before Nanjo was dead, if that makes sense. So like in certain theories, you might say that, for example, George like didn't actually die, and that was all bullshit, and they all left his corpse, and then he killed Nanjo, and then he died immediately afterwards for whatever reason.
You know, actually, on that note,
yeah?
There was one moment in the first recap where you were like, well, did you notice Shannon's body wasn't actually in the parlor when they arrived? It was. They did actually mention it being there.
Did they?
It's when they went back the second time that they don't mention it being there, but they also kind of glaze over whether George is there or not as well.
That's interesting.
Like,
I'll have to double check that, because I didn't remember that. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the master has become the apprentice.
Yeah, because I was watching the recap, and I was like, I swear he just added a note about Shannon's body being in the parlor, and I went back and checked through the episode notes. Like, yeah, no, it's totally
maybe it
there.
was.
I can flash a clip up on the screen.
Yeah, you better do that, because I didn't know that. I was fully under the impression that she was just not there, which would make sense.
It's kind of funny. I probably actually wouldn't have continued as hard down the current culprit theory path if you hadn't said that.
Maybe.
But like, oh boy, what a journey it has been to ride through this culprit theory.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to point out, because this is Rikshi's thing, more often than not, the riddle is the answer. That is how he does his shit, and nowhere is it more applicable to say this than with the web of truth. Like, like you're supposed to be like the characters in the story are like, but you can't, like, it's obviously magic, it can't even be real. But like, the fact that Evatris is throwing this riddle at you, like, as we've established later on in the story, these characters exist because Beatrice allows them to exist.
Yeah.
Which is something that you tweaked on very early, and I was very actually impressed with that when you were like, well, clearly Beatrice is like bringing Evatris to like do all this stuff. But like, Evatris posing that riddle of like, everyone's dead, Nanjo is killed, who did it? Like, it's framed as this like big triumphant witch moment, but really it's like the fucking key to the chest of the story, right? And I think that's also partly why, even though it's such an infamous moment, people do talk about EP3 as being a little bit easier than the rest of the episodes, because it's like there's not many answers you can come up with, right? Like episode 1 and 2 are much more like, well, maybe it was this, or maybe it was this, or maybe it was this. But EP3 is like, you have to either find some time bullshit that works or some multiple personality stuff that works. Like, there isn't much else. I don't know what else you could pick to make
and then
that
there's
fit.
the question of what foreshadowing there is for other
Of course, which is something that I kind of pushed hard with you. I was like, yo,
there's something else I discovered yesterday.
You can change
I didn't notice that this existed. We found it in episode 6.
Good work, us.
But I think the other thing was about, and like, especially for the veterans who are probably watching this video in sequence of how we're uploading them. Slight tangent. There was someone that asked like, why we upload these when we're uploading the episodes rather than when we're actually coming back to them. It's because I feel like most of the people watching this are veterans, so they're probably interested to like, you know, they can follow along and figure out how I got to certain places.
Yep.
And it's also a bit of like bait to keep them watching to see how the fuck I got there.
Don't tell them that it's bait.
Of course.
No. They'll know that we're playing them for fools. We're taking their millions.
I know.
Their YouTube millions. We're taking it right from underneath
Our plan
them.
has been shattered.
How much money do we make a month from this? Do we make any dollars yet?
None.
Okay, good.
Absolutely none. But for the veterans who are going through, you'll probably notice like this is where the biggest change in the playthrough is about to occur. Because like, this is where I started getting serious. Like, go ahead.
Okay,
I feel like
I feel like I should take this because I was like, yo, you have not even tried to solve the epitaph theory, my dude. You have not even tried. And then he fucking went ham on it for a week, and he came up with a solution that made a fair amount of sense.
Because like up until that point, I was kind of like, whatever, you know, we'll ride along and we'll get the answers at the end. And then you were like, well, you've been making fun of these characters for not trying.
Well, that's totally what the point is.
I know, and that's completely fine. But then the moment that I actually got somewhere, I was like, well, what about the rest of this?
What about maybe it's actually solvable? Yeah, totally. It's great to actually have that moment when you can be like, yes, this is designed to be solvable, or that you can reach an answer, even if that answer's wrong.
Yeah,
like you can do it.
The next thing I did before we started recording episode 4 was I was like, all right, well, I have this bullshit culprit theory.
Yep.
Let's go back and try solve everything with this culprit theory, and I was able to make it all work. And I was like, Oh!
Yeah, you came up. I mean, you rattle off all the steps at the beginning of EP4, but it all lines up, I think.
There are definitely some things that I would consider mistakes in my initial poking out the theory.
There are definitely some things that you missed or that were like...
Like, I think in my initial one, I didn't even call Rosa an accomplice in episode 2.
Yeah, she totally is. Spoilers. Spoilers, but she totally is.
This is the spoiler one anyway. But, like... and then, straight after I went through and I rattled off all of the culprit stuff, and I managed to get all the crimes work. There was still a couple that were left over that I was confused about. Yeah. And I was like, well, the problem in all of these cases is Kinzo.
Yeah. I was shocked that it took you long enough to figure out Kinzo, that long to figure out Kinzo, because you were like, here's the multiple personality thing. I was like, but he hasn't even looked at Kinzo, come on!
The moment I took him out of the picture, just everything worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, at that point I still hated the theory, but then I started editing episode 2.
Yep.
And we spoke about it a bit in the episode 2 recap, like post-edit recap, but oh my god, the beginning of episode 2 is just like so in favor of the multiple personalities thing. Like, if you take the beginning of episode 2 to be just purely an imagination through the culprit's mind, it is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, they had a mark on their hands in exactly the same places, and they're sitting there having a conversation with the witch, and no one else is there.
It just makes me so frustrated, because I don't know if you had this reaction, but I've definitely heard people be like, man, all these love scenes, they're really boring, and they don't even add anything to the mystery. And I'm like, maybe you should be paying attention to those. Maybe you should be having a look.
Yeah. Like, there is everything in this story, I think I can, with a lot of confidence, say that everything is both a red herring and a very clear clue.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, like, it's like how Rosa, I know this is the EP3 recap and we're talking about EP2, but like, Rosa is literally like, it was Ava who's like, it's a servant conspiracy. And like, in your theory, like, Ava is an accomplice. So Battler says, well, either Ava is the culprit, or the servants are the culprits. But in reality, they're working together. Yeah. Of course.
And like, even the multiple personalities thing that Battler throws out at the end of episode 3 is like, basically that's like the trick that you have to end up using. But Battler's like, well, you know, what if Nanjo's the one with multiple personalities? Or what if Jessica's the one with multiple personalities?
Go to the next person. Keep going, Battler.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
And, oh my goodness. It's just gorgeous. I think the other thing we have to bring up.
What are you looking at?
We gotta
Chiestas?
the Chiesta sisters.
Yeah, you talk about this.
My goodness.
You know what's going on here, my dude.
Do we have? No, we don't have 556 here.
No. So,
I think the Chiesta sisters is probably the simplest mystery that took me the longest to figure out.
No!
Because, I mean, like, 410, 45 calibers, you know, round sizes, whatever. And then
4.5. I mean, yeah.
Like, part of it is that I'm not well acquainted with my guns.
I believe Rosa even loads a 4.5 Colt round in her rifle in EP2's finale. I could be wrong though, but I believe that's what happens.
It's entirely possible.
But yeah.
But like, this is one of the most obvious mysteries that took me the longest to figure out, and it was so great going back this episode and seeing just how ham-fisted it's foreshadowed. Like, every action in the scene that the Chiestas first appear in is like a gun, like a weapon.
Yeah. Rikushi very much is like, this is the truth, you dummies. Like, he puts the answer in plain sight all the time. That is all that he does every single episode.
And the other one that I really loved is in the final, like, fantasy scene before Angie appears for the first time, is 4.5 and 4.10 are standing next to Maria and they address her in her name as Katakana for the first time that we've ever had it in the entire story. Like, it wasn't so significant to me in, like, English because we hadn't really established that as the, like, rule of how magical characters are named, and it's just in capitals, and I was like, okay, they're just calling her significant or whatever. But then when we get into episode 4 and it's like Maria's the Witch of Origins or whatever, it's like it's such blatant foreshadowing that just goes completely over your head if you have no context for it.
It denotes them as a magical, like a significant magical character. Speaking of which, can we talk about the other new magical characters of this episode? Can I talk about Best Boy and Teacher Girl?
Best Boy!
Best Boy, Bernabe. Look, I just want to say, I love this man. I've been waiting for his reveal for so long. I actually had only half an idea of what voice to give to both of these characters, Vigilia and Brodovay. I kind of pair them in my head. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
I only had half an idea. I literally on the spot of Vigilia's, she's not Vigilia when she's first introduced, of course. She's Beatrice. But like, I was like, shit, what voice do I go with? And I just was like, maybe I could move into a little bit of Italian. Maybe I could try that. And then I could make it a little bit high-pitched because she's supposed to be older and wiser.
And just upset every Italian person listening.
I know. But like, even if my accents are terrible, the point is, I felt that I had to give her an Italian accent because of the whole Dante's Inferno thing. And like, just how she is, how she acts, how refined she is. I love her so much. Yeah, I find her to be a really interesting character. I'm trying to think of what I could... Well, we're in spoiler territory. Like, she is... she basically correlates directly with Kumasawa as the, like, older person watching from the shadows, not sure what to do, and, like, teaching and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, in the current setup that I have, like, you know, that's Genji, that's Kumasawa, these ones, I kind of, like...
Yeah, you have some theory about them being, servants or something.
Yeah, it's mainly to, like, match with the theme that is, like, servant, probably servant.
Yeah.
Don't know who the fuck this is, probably Goda.
Which is... makes sense to me.
Yeah, because it's Goda.
Goda. No, I've actually seen fucking bullshit memes of Goda. It's ridiculous. It's just Goda with goat ears on.
Just what we needed.
So if we can find an image of that, we should flash that up because it's horrifying.
What an image.
But yeah, no, I love all the magical characters that get introduced. I know you found the Chiestas to be particularly grating at times, but
I mean, I feel like they're kind of supposed to be a little bit.
A little bit. They're just very over the top, like, because there's a very, like, cool contrast going on between the Chiestas and the Stakes, because the Stakes are very much, like, almost traditional, like, magical characters. I don't know, like they seem to have been around. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like how to. They seem like very much personal characters, like personal furniture. Like Beatrice is directly tied to the Stakes. It kind of feels like when she's ordering them around.
Yeah, it's
whereas
like
the Chiestas come from like
Pendragon or whatever.
Yeah, they come from Pendragon. Like they are very much on like a separate plane to the Stakes. They're very much framed as such. Like the Chiestas are so much more powerful in this episode, certainly. Right. I don't know. I just enjoy thinking about like the hierarchy of magical furniture and how the hell that works.
I think the other thing to talk about with magical characters
I was gonna say
Burn and Lambda. This was kind of like the first one where we've really been introduced to like the fact that Burn and Lambda are like above the players.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fun. There's a certain theory that I've come up with that I won't go into detail here because it will take way too long.
Yeah, that's a separate video, I think.
That is definitely a separate video. But like these characters, I have had my perspective on them flip so much because like in this episode, Lambda is just fucking going at Beatrice like, you motherfucker better play to win here.
Yep.
But then
Beatrice is all, yes, of course I will.
And then later on it switches up and Lambda's trying to keep Beatrice there for all eternity instead of Burn. And then it switches up again and Lambda's just like, I'm just having a good time, guys.
Yeah, Lambda's pretty fun with the way that she flips around. I've talked about this a little bit, but very much got the red only, blue only thing going on. And I finally got an answer. I talked to my resident Shinto priest. Shout out to Bern Castell for being the best girl. She's a shrine maiden, basically. And I was like, can you tell me about the symbolism of the sun and the moon? And she talked about how basically it's the same sort of thing as the red only, blue only thing, where like red is like fiery, passionate, emotional, and blue is cool, calm. Like you can see the same sort of thing with Shannon and Cannon, or Jessica and George, or Battler and Beatrice. Like I basically just listed all these examples for her. And the idea of it with the sun and the moon Shintoism thing that's going on here is that the sun is emotional and the blue is cool and reflective and all that sort of thing. But they're supposed to, the difference is it's supposed to denote two things that are fundamentally the same, even if you perceive them differently. Which I found to be a very interesting little note there, for many reasons. Like, we've got all these characters who switch places and like are on opposite sides of the fight, but still kind of doing the same thing, like that sort of thing. And I find that to be very interesting. Obviously, Lambda's the sun and burns the moon, and, Shannon's the sun and Cannon's the moon, although we'll get to EP6 eventually.
We'll get to that.
But things... roles reverse and things switch around, and maybe we're not so different, you and I.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, right? It's great. Maybe the sun can become the moon if but a moment.
The other thing about Lambda is the fact that, there's a whole bunch of dialogue suggesting that she is heavily tied to Ava Beatrice, where it's Ava's always the one acting with certainty in this episode.
Yes.
And
she uses
younger Ava.
The certain power to solve the epitaph. It's very cool.
It's really interesting to consider, what role Lambda actually has on the game board in this sense. Because, it's still kind of unclear, really. Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. All the witches have been saying, we're gonna help you out, or we have been helping you, just didn't notice. But, you'd have to really comb through each event to be this is what this means, and this is what that means, And whether or not the witches are doing anything in the first place, it's a great question. But yeah, definitely. Lambda is supporting Ava in this episode, which I find to be very fun.
And then we have our new favorite character.
Angie Beatrice. I love that that's right there.
My goodness. I mean, you'll see it in episode 4, but Angie is the character that made me actually care about the story. I went so ham after episode 3 on trying to solve everything that I just forgot about all of the characters being people, and then Angie came back and turned me back around. But, this is such, a peculiar introduction.
She just jumps into the party.
She just jumps into the party.
She just jumps in and is fuck y'all, witches, get out of here, boom! And then did she punch anyone, or did she just shout? I don't remember.
She mainly shouts.
Did she actually punch anyone? I'm pretty sure she's Battler, don't forget your purpose here, Bidzol. I never invited you. Get out of here.
Yeah,
and that's it.
I think the other thing though is in the Ura Tea Party, right? I keep forgetting.
I'm gonna assume so.
Angie is just set up to be just in the worst position ever, which isn't explicitly untrue.
She is in the worst position. Get out of town. She had her whole fucking family die.
She had her whole family die, and then Ava turned into a monster because the media made her one, supposedly.
Ava best girl.
And then Ava made Angie into a monster because she kept treating Angie like shit.
Yeah.
And it's just...
It's bad. Don't bully guys.
And then, I mean, I didn't really react to it so much, both because I was still kind of in shock, and also because I kind of, had reasoned it out. But at the end of episode 3, when Angie jumps off a building, it was it's very clearly meant to be symbolic of a tragic moment for the character. To an extent, I think, as I said in the actual video, it was clear that, they're not going to bring Angie into the story, throw her off a rooftop when Burns just invited her to the game and then never see her again.
Yeah, you never know.
But, it's very clearly meant to be, hammering home how significant what Angie's going through is.
Yeah.
That she'd even consider going to the top of a building and jumping off the side.
She's in a lot of shit.
Yeah,
because
it was the magic tea party, my head was oh, whatever, it doesn't matter, jumping off a building. She'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's magic. But...
Magic in the real world? Oh.
Yeah, and then there's a whole bunch of questions to get raised about where that goes, and we still don't really have any explicit answers.
What's Byrne doing in the real world?
But there's I mean, I think I have that out.
Oh, you have theories, but we're not getting into that now. We're teasing the audience. We gotta milk them for all they're worth. Hey guys, love you.
But my goodness, what an introduction Angie got.
She's great.
Everyone else got introductions, barring a couple of magic characters. Everyone else got introductions that's they're on the boat. They get to the island. They're in the island.
They all get murdered. Horribly.
Whereas Angie just bursts through the fucking door, yells at her brother.
Yeah, she's very much... I know that when I read the end of episode 3 and then episode 4, I was fuck, Angie's taking over as protagonist, clearly. That's gotta be what's about to happen. Which, maybe not. No, maybe not quite so much. No. But, that she's very much, a very strong, female lead to accompany Battler through his journey, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Anything else?
I'm sure there is. I don't know.
I mean, there was the whole talk about, like, Kyrie and Envy and all of that set up.
Fight math.
There was. Oh yes, this was our first instance of fight math.
Oh god. The beginning of an eternal conflict between us.
The first one was with Kumasawa.
It's true, but that.
But like.
But that wasn't as bad as Kyrie
fight math.
Versus Leviathan. Look, here's the thing. Ryukishi, I get what you're doing. I get what you're doing by introducing magic in, introducing math as magical power. I understand. I just don't think we need to spend so much time on it. I just don't think you need to make us literally read out these gigantic numbers to impress upon us the fact that magic may have something to do with probability. I just don't need it. Have we talked about that actually?
I mean,
talked about how
I don't think we've actually sat down and have a conversation about it. But
well, there's not a whole lot to say. I think
there's
right now.
a lot of Kinzo's scenes.
The main thing I want to point out is that I hope this isn't a thing that's like EP7 and 8. I don't think it is. I'm sure this is something that it's either told you early on or it's implied. But basically, Burn takes a probability that is 1% and gives it a chance of being 100%, or can boost it to 100%. Whereas Lambda takes something that's 99% like certain to happen and then makes it 100%. Like the magic that the characters use is very much tied to their ability to boost probability.
I mean, that was the whole thing with Kinzo at the beginning of this episode. He's like fucking reading tarot cards and he's like, no, fuck this set.
No. Well, yeah, because they're like, normally you just pick one and then you just make it, because when people actually read tarot cards, generally what you do is bullshit your way to getting an answer that you want. Which he's doing, but more in the sense that he's just flipping cards over as opposed to trying to get like the meaning that he wants from the first card that he gets. Because like if you get death, for instance, you could say, someone's gonna die in your family, or you could say, oh, it's a new beginning, that's so happy, you must be having a baby. Like, you can spin the tarot cards in so many different ways. Like, whatever tarot card you get first, you can probably spin to make sense. But Kinzo is like, no, there is one meaning to every tarot card, and I'm going to keep going until I get the one that I want, right? That's my understanding of tarot cards, anyway.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, I find that to be very interesting, personally. Poor guy, poor Kinzo. Which is interesting, of course, because that scene doesn't actually happen. Kinzo is the only character, I think, in the story that, like, could not have been alive in any of these episodes, and yet he's still, like, characterized and still does stuff, and, you know, like, he interacts with Natsu a lot. As I engraved the one-winged eagle on her heart, which is a beautiful moment. Beautiful moment. But yeah, I find that very interesting. I don't know if we want to get too much into that. I think I'll save that for the end of EP8, but, like, the way that the characters who are dead are portrayed in this series, and like the fact that we can empathize with essentially a corpse is very interesting to me. Yeah,
I think then the other thing we should bring up is the music.
Yes,
because
it's hype as shit.
It's good. It's pretty great. There are a whole bunch of new tracks. I don't remember the names of all of them, and there are some of my favorite ones are in this one.
Oh my god!
But
I'm trying to remember.
My goodness. The amount of times that Mirage Coordinator appears in episode 3 is disconcerting.
Look, those Voyager Witches, they're just hanging out. They're just having a good time. Don't worry about it.
Like, there's a real heavy use of themes. In fact, there's one track, actually, I can't remember it, and I'm going to be kicking myself, but there's one track, like, as you've said several times, maybe not up to now in the playthrough, but definitely onwards in the playthrough, every track is Hope.
Yes. Every track is Hope.
But there's like,
I was not lying. I was very deliberate when at the very beginning of the game, when the first time Hope played, and I know that I could feel that you were like, I just want to get on with the story. I just want to keep going. But I was like, no, we are stopping here and we are drawing attention to this track because it's literally the center of this entire goddamn game. You have no idea.
Yeah, there's like one track where if I'd actually sat down and just listened to it on its own, I probably would have noticed it.
Yeah.
Because I edit sometimes with the video sped up just to get through it a bit quicker. It was like it was playing Hope at the regular speed where it normally would have been slowed down. I was like, oh,
that's Hope.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, a lot of them are Hope. Like a lot of the ending songs as well in Shiro are based on Hope.
Yeah, I think this is also one of the first episodes that we really get a lot of like character specific themes.
Yeah.
Like we definitely do have
Evatrice has Happiness of Marionette, which is a beautiful one, because Marionette is a kind of puppet, and Evatrice is like being puppeted. It's
pretty great.
It's all the song titles have like little hints in them, which I really like.
But yeah, there are definitely some character themes. Like I think the first time Angie appears, we get a new theme, which
Is it that one that's like dooba 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 dooba? That one?
I'd have to listen to it again.
Rhythm something.
But
anyway.
like, it's a theme that appears a lot in episode 4. And it's really cool to see, go back after like playing through them and see, you know, the first times they were introduced and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it becomes pretty significant.
Yeah. Good
So,
shit.
I still think episode 3 is, to date, my least favorite episode.
Same.
But
we still love it though. It's
yeah,
so good. It's still really good.
The fact that this is the least favorite speaks volumes about how good the rest of this series is.
Like this is arguably where, you know, the story picks up pace, starts getting crazy and insane and a bit more anime, you know, than the previous 2 episodes. Which a lot of people like. I do think it's in terms of writing and in terms of mystery solving, it is the least interesting. Like, it is the episode that I come back to the least to like puzzle through. Still good shit though. Like it really has, like, its main strength is its cast of characters that it just introduces.
Yeah, it has a lot of cast of characters and it introduces a lot of themes that become important later on, like the connections between, you know, magical characters and
people on the board.
And also what becomes known as vessels later on.
Yeah, because like that is kind of a thing also in EP2 when we see Cannon's zombie.
Yeah.
Because it couldn't possibly be Cannon, because Cannon's dead. We got that in Red.
Absolutely.
It couldn't be Cannon, or someone that looked like Cannon. But yeah, like, it's definitely something that we've been introduced to, and also, if you go all the way back to episode 1, we got Maria talking, like, when we talk about Maria and, like, her personalities and shit. Point is, there's foreshadowing everywhere. But, you're absolutely correct. We get the first, like, most explicit tie between 2 characters, which is Avatris. And even, you know, Kumastar and Vigilia and Genji and Renobe. Speaking of that note, I do want to add, because I feel like, on my honor, this needs to be said, I apologize for my slip-ups in this episode. I made a couple of them.
There are a lot of them.
A fair amount of them.
Some of them were so bad that even I noticed before we've made it the whole way through the game.
Yeah. There have been a couple of slip-ups in this episode. Like, this is definitely the episode where I was I don't want to make excuses. I was trying less.
As you said, it's the one that you come back to less, so it's the one that you know least
about. It's the one that I know the least, and so I'll say something like, oh, this is the thing where we've just discussed, or about to discuss. I'm like, oh, wait, we totally don't get that information here at all. Like, EP 1 and 2, I was so on board. Like, every single time we would break between a chapter, I would, like, basically go back in my head, like, what's the next scene? What's the flow of the next scene? What characters are in it? And I could remember every single scene that we were about to hit. Whereas in EP3, I was like, this is the one where Avatris appears. That's all I could really remember about it.
There was a lot of, I don't even remember what's next. Oh wait, yes I do!
Good. You go me. But yeah, like, I remember EP 1 and 2 incredibly well. EP3 much less so. Partly because I was moving through it much quicker, but partly also because it's just less there for me to think about.
Ouch. Have a dig.
What? It's true. It's still a fantastic episode. I love Umineko. I love you, Ryukishi. Come and talk to me. Tell me your feelings. I want to meet Ryukishi one day. That'd be amazing.
Oh yeah. The other thing we introduced this episode was the counter graphic.
Yeah,
let's throw that up.
What are we at right now?
We are at 0 to 22.
That's in our favor, I should.
No. Truth be told, if I had in editing picked moments to give us points, there would have been a lot. But I've gone through and I've decided to only give us points when we declare them, because otherwise I will be there for hours.
It's true.
So if you guys in the comments want to keep track of all of the points and even go back to episodes 1 and 2
and make a proper counter,
be my guest and we can add it up at the end of episode 8. But for fuck's sake, I'm not doing it.
I cannot wait to see those counters. It's gonna be great. I can't wait to see how many points we have over Ryukishi, because we are going to beat Umineko. We will not let it hang us by our britches. I'm being sarcastic and lying to myself. I'm sorry.
It's alright. It's okay. My goodness.
Is there anything else we need to, like, talk about?
The other thing I wanted to talk about, final thing.
I'm scared.
The meta theory I came up with in episode 5. No. We won't talk about that a lot.
Okay.
But I really, really appreciated editing this episode, because that's when I came up with it.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Looking at, like, how many details there are that foreshadow the possible connections there. Basically, the meta theory is that there are other authors writing the story, and that one of them, the main one in my opinion, is Battler.
Sure.
That's a whole load of shit that we can get into later, and especially if you know we're up to episode 6, you know how I'm feeling about that. But like, there are a whole bunch of really, really tiny details that I think really play in favor of that, like the fact way back at the start I mentioned, like, oh fuck, Battler's narrating in Purgatory for the first time. Like, it's one thing that I've definitely started to pay less attention to as we've gone later on, because it just gets completely wacky as to who's narrating in Purgatory.
Jesus Christ.
It just goes completely off the rails later on.
There's some episodes that I'm like, I don't even know who's narrating anymore.
But in this one, it was the first time that Battler clearly narrated in Purgatory, and I think that was, like, actually a pretty decent hint as to the whole change in authorship. And then there are a whole bunch of other details talking about, like, you know, where Beatrice denies herself and disappears and asks Battler not to watch, and, like... I have a theory about what all of those things mean, and I won't go into it now, but I do want to say that I think episode 3 in particular, of the ones that I've edited thus far, is an absolute goldmine for understanding how the meta spaces of Umineko work. Like, you know, first of all, there's like the surface layer stuff of like Vigilia explaining how unreliability works and Brawn Tubes, and we've also spoke a bit in the episode about how Ryukishi changed it up from the initial plan for episode 3. But there are a whole bunch of other crazy hints that I really... Despite calling episode 3 my least favorite episode, editing it has really boosted how much I like it. It still hasn't pushed it past my next favorite.
What's your next favorite?
Episode 1.
Oh, interesting. I think I'm in a similar boat. As much as I love it, it will never top episode 2.
But there are just so many gorgeous tiny details that, if I'm correct, might throw episode 3 right to the top when we end.
We'll see. See how we go.
We will see how we go. But, my goodness. You know, as we said, it's both of our least favorite, but it just speaks volumes for how good the rest of this is, if this is the least favorite, because it's amazing.
I just want to say, I'm really glad that you're enjoying this, because I was sure you would, because I thought long and hard about, like, would this work as a playthrough? Like, I'm sure, you know, it was your idea. I'm not going to fight you on that.
We won't get into that.
But, like, when you were like, yo, I want to do a playthrough, I was like, can this work? Is this actually a thing? Like, because, like, if you didn't try and solve the mystery, then, of course, I would be frustrated, but it would still be entertaining, because we get to watch you flounder about some more. But I think that it adds volumes to the playthrough, that you are trying to work everything out, being an active reader, which is something that this story rewards in droves. Like, we're not at the end yet, but obviously, like, we gotta get something, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, it was definitely one of my concerns that you wouldn't take this as seriously, which is what the start of episode 1 is, right?
Yeah, I think...
Like, I went along with it, but I was a little hurt. I was like,
there are some people that I've been speaking to that, like, supposedly when these videos were first shared around, they were like, oh god, I can't watch this, he's not taking this seriously. Completely right. I wasn't taking it seriously at all.
But here's the thing, and this is my advice to all of you who are also trying to get people into this shit. That is going to happen, but you need to let the game do its thing. You literally need to trust Ryukishi that his game will win people over.
Yeah.
Give him a little poke, but like...
Truth be told, if we weren't doing this in a playthrough format, I would have given up around halfway through episode 1.
Rip.
Because this is just not a format of storytelling that I am particularly fond of.
That's totally fair.
But because we're doing it this way, and it has forced me to actually, you know, stay clean, not spoil myself, actually think about it, actually perform, actually read through it all actively.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good way to do things.
Yeah.
If there is a friend that you guys have that you want to bring through the story, do it with them.
Play with them.
Because it's a great way to do it, in my opinion.
It's so much fun. Even if I slip up, even if I cause problems, even if I'm sure that many people in the comments of episode 3 are yelling at me right now. I'm sure that'll happen.
You know what we need to do, though? We need to figure out a way to patent this format.
I would love to do this. Like, I don't... Look, I
we gotta get our money's worth.
I don't know. I'm just wondering, like... I don't know. I'm just thinking about the future right now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're starting to ramble because we've said most of what we need to say.
It was a fun time.
It was a great time. Episode 3 is brilliant.
Keep watching.
I'm really looking forward to editing episode 4 because episode 4 is currently still my favorite episode.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Angie.
we will see you there.
Right.
I hope you're looking forward to the gargantuan change that's about to happen.
I'm looking forward to your Angie voice getting better.
It was okay at the end of episode 3.
Was it?
It took a while to get there.
Was it? Okay.
You can tell he hasn't been the one editing.
I haven't watched the no.
Anyway, we will see you guys in episode 4, and for those of you more up to date, in episode 7.
Woo!
Have fun!
Bye.